In this video, we're going to see how we can use the flex properties of Spectra in order to create more advanced layouts. Hi, my name is Stratos and I create video tutorials about WordPress. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Spectra is a free plugin that you can use and sits on your Gutenberg editor, and it will give you more elements and of course more control in those elements to create advanced layouts. You can use it with every theme, and also it has a pro version that gives you more functionality. Let's see first the three layouts that we are going to build, and by following along with this video you're going to be able to understand how the flex properties are working, and then you're going to be able to create more advanced layouts. Let's see, the first one comes from the Elementor.com, and this is the section that we're going to recreate. I'm not going to go pixel perfect. The purpose of this video again is to understand how the flex properties is going to work. The next one will be from tonestudio.gr, and this is the one that we're going to rebuild, the three columns with the borders here. And then we have something from pricing tables. I searched into Google for pricing tables and I came up with this template, and we're going to recreate this one. Let's start first with this one. Let's go to the page that we're going to build, and this is a blank page. I'm using an Astron template here, but it doesn't matter what theme you have installed. Just go and add inside your plugins the Spectra. So after that you can follow along with this video. Let's go to the page that we're going to play with, and let's click here into the plus icon. I'm going to click the container, but first I'm going to hit browse all, because the first time that you're going to use Spectra you will not have the container inside here. So browse all, and then you will see all the Spectra elements. Now, if you have other plugins for Gutenberg, maybe the Spectra is not the first that you will see here, so you have to scroll down until you find the Spectra here, so click the container. After that, it will give you some suggestion based on the layout that you want to start. And if you see here, this is two columns, so I'm going to click it just to see how it is. So here I have the two columns, and if you see here I have two columns, so it's close to what I'm going to recreate. But here I also have a heading and a subheading that are sitting on top of those two columns. And here I don't have any place in order to put that elements. So I'm going to delete that and start creating from a blank container. But first let's look how this is actually built. So we have a container, and inside that we have two containers, and this is what we're going also to recreate. But inside that container, which is the parent one, we're going to add also the heading and the subheading. Now if you go to the container that you have clicked, maybe you will see that it has here the flex properties, which sits under the general tab. And here is the direction that is going to give us to those two containers. After that, we have the align items, justify content, and wrap. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will be able to click what you want in order to recreate the layout that you want. Okay, let's delete that. And we're going to start with the simple container, and we're going to select the blank one. This is the one, and inside here, I'm going to add the heading. So click heading or click browse all in that heading. After that, I'm going to add another heading. I know that the heading here has a subheading, so you can do that, enable the subheading. But since we do want more control, I'm going to just duplicate that. And I'm not going to continue now with the two columns. Let's first add the text so you know what I'm doing. So let's copy that. And this will be a heading 1 for us. And let's paste it here. And after that, let's go and grab that, and this will be an age probably 4. Okay, so click here and go into the content and then select the H1. And then after that, let's go here and select the H4. After that, I'm going to put both of those into the middle. And here, let's put that into the middle. Now, keep in mind that once I click this element, you can see that this blue line stretches to the whole row. Almost the whole row. So this alignment is for the row of the heading. I know that you will see inside the general and inside, first let's go into the container. You will see here the align items with the flex properties, so you can switch between align left, align center, and align right. But this is when the elements do not take the whole row. This is just when you're going to put something that has its own limits into the width. Now, after that, we're going to need to have two columns inside here. And in order to put two columns, one next to the other, because we have at this moment the alignment of the container to be one on top of the other, we need another container here inside that container. Now, if you keep in mind that we have the breadcrumbs here, this is pretty useful. So as you can see, I have clicked outside and I have only the page here. So I need to click inside once again, and then I can click into the container. Now the container is with blue colors and I can click the plus. So everything I will add, it will go inside the container. Of course, I can click this container to get the same result, but maybe this is the layout that you have selected, so you don't have that appearing and you have more control over the layout by viewing it into full, because if you add this sidebar, it will shrink the page, so you're not going to see exactly what you're building in full scale. I'm leaving it here because I want you to see what exactly I have added inside my container. So I'm going to add the plus here and I'm going to add another container. This will be the parent of the two columns that I have inside here. So here I'm going to add another container and I'm going to duplicate that. Now that I have the two containers, I'm going to click the parent one of those two. And as you can see, these two containers sits one on top of the other. So I'm going to the direction and I'm going to select here to have them on row. This means that it will go and sit one next to the other. And this is why I add another container inside the first container, because these two are one on top of the other. So basically the direction is columns, and then I need something to have the direction to rows. So I need to add another container. After that, I can go into the subheading here, into basically the H4, go into the style and spacing, and probably give it something like margin of 50 pixels, something like that. Then I can go into here and I can add an image. If I can find it, image, this is the one, and it doesn't matter what image you select, just go into your media library and select whatever image you have inside here. I'm going for this one. Okay, and after that, let's see what we have. We have here something that says landing page, and it has here an arrow. So how we're going to do that? If I go inside my column here and click the paragraph or maybe the heading, because it's a little bit of a bigger text, let's paste here the landing page. Let's put that in H5 probably. Let's compare it with this one. No, I'm going for H3. Now keep in mind that those elements are not for the sizing, H3 and H4. I'm using it now for the sizing because I want to speed up the process, but the semantics elements are not for exactly the sizing. You can do that by selecting the one that you want to adjust and then go into the typography and adjust the sizing. Let's go for H3, something like that. And then I have to add an icon. And let's try to add an icon inside here. So inside that container, probably I have to open up that again. I'm going to click here the plus icon, yeah, and then add another icon. And as you can see, this will go one on top of the other. So by now, you probably know what is coming. I will add another container inside this container in order to get those two one next to the other. Now, why I need to add another container? I can do that in here. I can select this one and I can set the direction into here and they will go one next to the other. So why I need also another container? Because if you want to add also the other content here, so create must-click landing pages, you have to add containers. Let's go and add something different. So we need a paragraph that says this one. And as you can see now, we have 3 columns, and this is not exactly the layout that we need to build. So what we need to do, go inside that container, click the plus icon, add another container. Don't be afraid to use containers. I would probably like it more if it was a div, but we don't have divs inside here. So add the heading inside there by drag and dropping inside then, and add the icon also, and then the paragraph will stay outside. Then inside that container, I'm going to first, let's go into the parent container of the column, and here I'm going to select the direction to be this one, and now we have the container on top and the paragraph at the bottom. And now into this container that has the heading and the icon, I'm going to select the direction to be row. So now we have one next to the other. And I know that I can use the info box to get something like that, but I want more control, so I'm using separate elements. Now keep in mind that as I think that this is a problem of Gutenberg, and as you can see, the heading element takes a little bit more space than actually the words that are inside, the content that is inside the heading. And you can see that it takes about half of the container that is inside because it's set into columns. So we cannot do anything for that in this video. I'm not going to show you more advanced stuff here because this is not the purpose of this video. But let's go into that container in order to see what all the buttons here do. So we have the item alignment, so you can set the alignment that those two have inside that container, and keep in mind that you have to have more space inside here in order to see that, but I know that you can see that this landing page is moving accordingly. Also, we have the justified content, so you can move it around. Again, we don't have enough space in order to see here everything, but here for the wrap, you will see that if I select here to wrap, it will go underneath the other. And this is something that you will use once you start building and previewing that for the tablet. So maybe you want that column to be one on top of the other for the tablet, but not for the desktop. So how you do that? You go into that container that hosts those two columns, and you're going to select the wrap, and probably if you don't want the image to be at the bottom, you're going to select this reverse wrap, and the image will go on top, and then you will have the next column to be on the bottom. Let's go back to the desktop, and then we don't have the wrap anymore. Next, we're going for the other row, and what we need here is also an icon, but in order to do that, we have first to add a container and put that paragraph inside there. You can duplicate this container, but since we have a heading here and the icon is here, I'm going to do it manually by going into this container, which is the column, not here. Let's close that in order for you not to be confused. And here I'm going to click the plus icon. I'm going to add another container. This container will go at the bottom. I'm going to grab the paragraph and put it inside. And then I'm going to open that, click the container, click the plus, and click also an icon. I'm going to put the icon on top, and then I'm going for another icon. Probably let's change that to this one, and then let's select that container, which is basically the row that we have in Elementor. Here is the row, and select for the direction to be row. After that, you can see how it looks at this moment. And now all I need to do is go and clone that container how many times I want. So duplicate that, and duplicate that again in order to take it 4 times. I think that there were 3. And underneath that, you can add the WooCommerce forms and pop-ups. So I think we're good with this particular layout. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to close that. And let's see how it looks in the front end. Let's save it. And just to see how it looks. So basically, this is how it looks. Again, we're not going for pixel perfect. I'm not going to do everything how it's going to be done, because this is the purpose of this video, to search for the flex properties and how it works. Okay, let's go to the next one, will be the Tone Studio. I'm going to delete everything that I have already done in order to see that how it looks on top. So let's go to the first container and let's delete that. Let's update and let's go. I'm going to put the Tone Studio here. As you can see, again, we have 3 columns, and if you think that it will just take 1 click in order to create the layout by using that container, you are mistaken, because these 3 columns can use to be recreate this content, but this line is a little bit different. So let's start by taking the recent items, and again, I'm not going to use the info box, because you can use the info box in order to take and build something like that. If I click here and select the info box and set that to be left of the text and the title and put that into the middle, I will probably get something similar by then altering the spaces that I have between that, but I want to have separate elements just to show you how you can build that. And as you can see here, we have 2 columns again. We have one with the icon here and then with the content. But here I'm not going to do it by adding 2 containers. I'm going to add the icon first, and then I'm going to add a container inside here in order to have the content. And why I add just an icon? Because you don't need to have two containers in order to build one something next to the other. You don't have to recreate exactly this one by using two containers. You can do it by icon and container. So if I put here the direction to be into a row, you can see now that I have the icon here, and then I can put everything that I want inside that container. And I used container here because I want to add two headings, probably one heading and one content, one paragraph, and I want to put that one on top of the other. So in order to do that, I have to wrap those into a container. But for the first column, it works normally if you just two elements and then put one next to the other. There are not always be containers. So let's grab the recent items and put that on top. Let's put here this content and put that on the paragraph. And then for this one, let's change that to a clock. This one, insert. And now we're going to see where is the problem. If I try to add here the border that we have inside here, the top border, you will see that it's a line that goes across from the beginning to the end of the layout that we have. And if I try to do it inside this container, this is just the column, the first column of the three. So I will click here into the parent container, and I'm going into the style, into the border. And let's go for width, unlink those, top, let's go for 2. This style will be solid, and then for the color, I'm going for black. Let's update that and see how it looks into the front end. So here, let's refresh that. And as you can see, the line goes from the beginning of the page until the end. It's not staying into the content. And the problem is that this container is for the whole row. It will take the background of the whole row, and it will specifically be for the row. So I need to add something different inside here to have the width of the layout. And how to do that? By adding a container. So here I'm going to change what we have here. I'm not going to delete it in order to see how we can build it with using the elements that we have already inside here. We don't have to start from the scratch every time. So what I'm going to do, I have my 3 columns, and I'm going to wrap those into a container. So I'm going to click the parent and click the plus, click to add a container. Now I will have 4 columns. I'm going to go and put that on top. I don't need to put the exactly one, but I need an empty one. I could easily have selected those 2 because those are empty. And I'm going to grab that container, and I'm going to put that underneath that and open that, and this one the same, and this one the same. So now I have a container that hosts another container that is a parent for 3 other containers. Let's go to that container and delete the solid style of border. Okay, let's update that. And now into this container, I have to go into the general and flex properties, and I have to put that to be something like column. You can leave it as direction row, but I usually put it in column if I'm not going to use anything, in order to be able to add other things inside that container if I want. And then into this container, I have to go click it and select that to be direction row. So now I have the 3 columns. It looks exactly the same, but now this container will not take the full width. So if I go now into this one and go into the border, let's go to the style solid, and let's go for unlink those, top 2, again for black color, and update that. Let's go to the front end, let's refresh, and now you can see that I have that line here. Okay, let's go back here, and I'm going to remove that. Let's remove it completely. I'm going to hide it later on in order to recreate something like that. So in order to do that, I have to go into that container first, and I'm going for the background, and I'm going to add the color to be black, and I'm going to give it a little bit of space. Let's go for 50 and 50 just to have a little bit of breathing room. 50 top, 50 bottom. Okay, after that, heading, and let's put that white. Okay, and just to change things a little bit. I'm not going to change that from heading just. I'm going also to style and change that from typography and change that probably to 20. It's close to what it was before. Okay, let's select the paragraph and change the text into white. And then let's go to this color and let's change that to be red. Something like that. Let's update that and see how it looks now into the front end. Okay, this is how it looks. So we can go now and select that container, which will be the one that it will have the border. So let's go to the border. Let's select to be solid and let's go for 1. And then I'm going for white and I'm going for a transparency of something like that. Update and let's go to the front end and see how it looks now. So as you can see, this is closer to what we need to do. Okay, let's go to the next one, which will be to probably duplicate that and then add the borders that we have here. So I'm going for that container and I'm going to duplicate that 2 times, duplicate, and then duplicate. Okay, and now I can delete that and I can delete that as well. It was easier than going into each and every one container and recreate that. But as you can see, I made a mistake. I have chosen that container instead of that container. So what can I do now? I'm going to delete that. And now that I have this container, which is the column that I want, sorry, I'm going to duplicate that. I cannot click today. Okay, let's undo that. And I'm going to select here into that container. Let's click it in order to be blue. Click it and duplicate, and then duplicate again. Okay, now that I have my 3 columns, I can go and add the border that I want. But as you can see, the border is not going from the top to the end, so I'm not going to put the border into the container of the column. I'm going into this container, which is the content that has here the title and the paragraph, and I'm going to put here the border. Now, of course, this is not the ideal because as you can see, the spacing are a little bit wrong, but you can do something like that and then change the I think that those have padding inside here. Yeah, they have padding, so you can just put 0 into all the paddings and it will go, and those 2 will go into the same space. And let's go into that container. All the containers basically that you add by default, if you're not changing into the settings, will have 10 pixels of padding. Okay, and now I can go into this container and I can go for a border, and let's go to solid and let's go unlink those. And for the right, I need 1 pixel. And probably I should select the same color, but I'm not going to do it, of course. And let's go for white and let's go and move the transparency something like here. Let's update that and see how it looks in the front end. No, this is not the one. This is the one. Let's refresh that and this is how it looks. So I need also another border. And of course, I'm not going to play with all the other spacing that we have. So let's go here. Click into that one and select the container and then get into the border, select the one to be solid and unlink the width. And for the right, again, I need to go 1 pixel, white, and the transparency to go something like that. Update and let's see how it looks. And this is the layout that we have built. Okay, then we can close that. And this is the one that we're going to continue with. Now, I think that this should have a little bit of padding inside here, but it doesn't matter. Also, I'm not going to recreate the hover thing that we have here, the hover effect. So let's first delete that container. And I think that the builder is going to be a little bit slow. Let's update that and refresh the page. Maybe that would fix my problem, but maybe it's from my computer. Okay, and let's start first. Let's see what we're going to build. So we have 3 columns, as you can see here. So first we need to add a section with 3 columns. Of course, you can use this one if you're not going to add the text that is on top. But if you're going to use the one that is on top, then you have to first create the section that we have here, and then add this heading, and then add another container that has 3 containers inside, exactly what we did before. But let's start building the tables right away. So the first one has the starter that says here, so let's copy the text and let's put here the text. I'm going to add first the text, and then I'm going to see where I need to add containers, and I'm going to do it next. So first let's add the text, which will be a heading, and it will be the starter. And then I have the price, and let's put that underneath that. Heading, and then this is the price. Then we have the one website per year. And then, as you can see, we have this icon and then the plugin updates. So in order to do that, I know now that immediately I will need a container, so I can do that right now. Add the container and then add the icon, and next to that I'm going to add, click the container, click the plus, click the paragraph, and put that here. And after that we have the buy now button. So let's do that. I'm going here and I'm going to click outside that container. Here is the one that I want. This is the one, and I'm going to click the plus icon, and I'm going for buttons. This is one. Okay, it went up here, doesn't matter. Let's click here the arrows in order to put that at the bottom. Okay, let's go into the container here, and let's put the flex properties to be on row. And now let's start building what we have. First, I need to put the white background in order to see it. So let's go and select the container, the whole container, the column, and let's go into the style and select the color to be white. Okay, after that, let's put the starter into the middle, and I'm going to narrow down a little bit. Let's go for H4, and I'm going to leave it as H4. This one should be in the middle as well, but it will go bigger. I'm not going to change that by H1. I'm going into the style, and let's go to the typography, and let's select something like 50 pixels probably. No, let's go bigger, 60, 80, something like that. 80. And probably for the color, I'm going to select that blue color. It's not the same. Let's go for that one. It's not the same again, but it doesn't matter. Then for the one website per year, let's go into general. Let's put that in the middle again, and let's put that as H4. And this one should be a little bit smaller, like 20, something like that. Into the styles, into the width of the icon, I know that I have a little bit of sections that I can change, a little bit of background and everything else, but again, I need a little bit of work in order to make them exactly as I want. But as you can see, the plugin is not exactly in the same line as this one. It sits on top, so I need to go into the container and select the flex properties, and let's select that to be in the middle again. And I think that that moved, probably, I'm not sure. But if it doesn't, then you need to adjust the spacing that you have around the icon, because it has a little bit of spacing around. After that, let's select that container and let's remove the padding that we have in order to duplicate that, and it will be a little bit better. So remove the padding, and then for the container, I'm going to duplicate that. Control-Shift-D. Okay, let's do that quickly. Control-Shift-D. Okay, that was not the case. It doesn't matter. Let's go for duplicate. Duplicate. And you can see that it has more containers. So duplicate and duplicate again. Now, again, I'm not going to go pixel perfect, so I'm not going to do much more work. Let's go for the row gap, and we're going to see what it is, because this is something that is very close to the flex properties. So the row gap and the column gap is the gap that have all the items inside one container. And what I mean here is if I go into the container that we have the whole column and I put here the row gap to be 50, all the items that are inside will go with 50 pixels of space in between. And no matter how many elements you add inside, they will all take the same space between those elements. So let's see how it looks in the front end, and I would like to explain that space. So as you can see, the starter from the price has a little bit of space, and then here is another space, and then we have that space here. But here we don't need that exactly space. We don't need so much space here. What we're going to do, it's very easy. We're going to add another container just to add those rows inside here in order to make those separate element and just one element. Because at this moment, if I open here, those elements are not one. As you can see, it's one row, next row, next row, next row, next row, and all of those are going to take the gap that we have set. So in order to fix that, I'm going into the container, which is the column. I'm going to click the plus icon, add another container, put that on top next to underneath the heading, and then I'm going to put this container underneath that and open that up, and here put that inside, and also do the same process for all of those. Sorry, that was not intentional. Okay. And here we are. So now I can do something like here, going into that container and putting the row gap to be 0. So all of those will go and a little bit smooth, and it will be better for the layout. So let's go and see how it looks right now. And as you can see, this is better looking, exactly what we need to create. Now, I need also to put a little bit of padding inside that. So let's go here and let's go for a padding. So the starter will have a little bit of breathing room. Let's select the column and let's go for the spacing. Yeah, this is the spacing, and let's separate those and let's go for probably 40 on top. And I'm going for 20 on the right, 40 on the bottom, and 20 on the left. Let's update that and see how it looks now. And this was not the correct one that I refreshed, it doesn't matter. And now I need to put a little bit of border radius in order to recreate the styling that I have here. I think that it has a little bit of border radius. It also has a little bit of shadows. So if you want to do that, you have to do it into the column, and you have to go into the border and put here the border radius to be something like 10. And then probably go for the box shadow and put something like blur 3 and spread 2, something like that probably. And maybe I'm going for a little bit easier color. And let's go to see how it looks right now. So you can see that this is how it looks. Now again, it's not pixel perfect, but it doesn't matter. Let's go to the button, and probably I'm going to put that to be as justified. I don't remember how to do that. It's been a while since I have put that justified, but I think you can also do that from spacing, and you can add padding and put left and right however you want. And probably I would go for percentage and go for 50-50, something like that. I'm not sure, but let's see if it has justified. Okay, I searched a little bit. I couldn't find justify to go from the beginning to the end. Doesn't matter. Is it here full? Yeah, it's here. Okay. It was easier than what I thought. And if you go and put it like that, you will need probably a little bit of radius also. So let's go to the border and let's select for the radius something like 20, update, and let's see now how it looks. And this is how it looks at this moment. So what we need to do now is duplicate the column. So let's go and close that. Close that, and now that I have the columns here, I can go and delete now the correct columns and duplicate again the correct ones, the correct one. Okay, duplicate that, and now that I have the 3 columns, I can go into the middle one and I can change the color from the content background and select the color to be this one, and then go and change everything into white. I'm just going to change one thing, and that will be probably the price. Style, and here put price white and update that. And now let's go and see how it looks. Let's go here and refresh the page. And now that we have here this space, I know that this is because of the flex row spacing that we have. So let's go into that container, and probably it's better this way, but how we can remove that spacing? Let's go into the container, the one that has the 3 columns inside here, into the spacing, and for the column gap, let's put that into 0. So it will touch one to the other. Okay, let's update that and see how it looks in the front end. And this is the video. Hopefully you have understand how the flex properties are working, and now you can create more advanced layout. So thanks for watching, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.